Hi, YouTube. I'm Arwen, the professional joy seeker, professional tarot consultant, and major Barbara Walters wannabe. This is part of my interview series, and I met this young lady. Wow. I think she commented on one of my videos, and I loved her name, and I thought, I'm going to go look. And she also had an icon that just fascinated me because I love birds, and there's a bird in her icon, and it's a live bird. Um, so off I went, and I found this funny, caring. You can tell she's caring and pretty much forthright woman who just fascinated me. And we kind of chatted back and forth via comments here and there. And when I started doing my interview, I thought, that's somebody I want to talk to because she's fascinating. And I'd like you all to welcome Rosy Moon May. Hi, Rosy.
Hello, Arwen. What a thrill meeting tarot royalty. I had to get out my fascinator for this special occasion because you really are tarot royalty. And I would get up and curtsy, only I would never be able to get back up with my bum knee.
Well, I adore it. It is absolutely royal wedding ready.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. It's a thrill. Just what a thrill that you messaged and invited me to do this. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thank you
It's
so
truly an honor.
much. And I love your YouTube title, or when you read her about, it's like, I am, let's see, salt and marsh and sea, or something along those lines. And she's one of our northern tribe. I've been talking to a lot of the southern folks. Well, Rosie's up above me. But talk to me about your affiliation with water, because it sounds like is that your main element?
Well, I grew up literally next to the North Atlantic, excuse me, in Glace Bay. I'm in Nova Scotia in Eastern Canada. And I grew up literally next to the North Atlantic. As a child, we moved a little bit to Breton called Port Hawkesbury. And again, we were next to the and then from there, we moved to, my dad moved around quite a bit with his job. And so then we moved to another place, and it was beside the Bay of Fundy. And now I'm kind of close to the Bay of Fundy now and close to the Northumberland Strait. So I've always been near the ocean. It's definitely a part of who I am. I also live near a huge salt marsh, one of the largest salt marshes in the world. And it's a part of who I am. And I often think that if ever I had to move away inland, I think really I would smother, because I absolutely have to be near salt water. I have to be near the ocean.
That's wonderful. Now, salt marshes, where I'm from, I'm originally from Louisiana, and we have bayous, and they're really slow moving bodies of water. And then we
Yes.
get things that we call the different names. I've heard, we have one that's called like a wham, is the word we use for it. And basically, it's a bayou that's no longer moving. So it's just, and the smell can be so overwhelming, but I enjoy it. It makes me feel home. And I used to go
Yes.
bird watching out there. Do you do any animal watching? Do you go out
Oh
to the
my
salt marsh?
gosh. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. We have Ducks Unlimited here,
Oh yeah.
and we have a lot of bird preservation sites. And birds are huge. I mean, we have an incredible number of different bird species here where we live. And it's just, yeah, it's truly an incredible place. I love it. We've been where we are now. We've been here now for 15 years, and I love it here. I absolutely love it where we are.
Well, where I live, I drive like an hour and a half to get to any big box stores. I live in a very small town. The biggest store we have here is a Walmart. So if you want to
Yes,
get to something like Best Buy or something big, you've got to drive into a big town. I was
yes,
driving there one morning, and I saw people pulled over to the side. Well, you always check to make sure everybody is okay. And the
yes.
people were standing out in the field with cameras. And I thought, hold the phone, back up. because I saw something out in the field, but I couldn't see what it was. So I whipped back around and come up behind them. And I'm respectful. I park like quarter mile back and walk up because I don't want to scare whatever they're
Yes.
watching.
Yes.
And I get up and the field is literally covered with gray, leggy birds. And in my head, I'm thinking, I didn't know we had sandhill cranes around here. That can't be sandhill cranes. Wonder what that is. Sure enough, we have a wildlife refuge between where I was and where I live, where the sandhills come and actually nest. I didn't know that.
Wow. Now, would they be like a blue heron? Like we call here, that we call them blue heron and cranes.
They're similar. They're in the same
Okay.
family, but sandhills are
Okay.
actually an endangered. I don't know if they're on CITES 1 now. They were on CITES 2 for a while, but they are
Okay.
they're known for their mating dance, and they're kind of gray with, they have like a red pip on their head.
Okay. We don't have those here. I don't
Yeah.
think.
But great blues.
Oh, that's so cool. I love birds. I love birds.
Me too. And that's why, your picture of you, is it a raven or a crow? I forget.
Well, now actually, that's not a live bird. I've always crows. Well, it isn't, but there's a story behind it. Crows are my spirit animal, and I've always had a strong association to crows. I've hand-fed crows, and we have crows that we've always fed crows, and I've always had. They've just always been around me, always, always, always. And so for Christmas a couple of years ago, my husband actually kind of commissioned this carving. There's a local carver, and he carved that beautiful crow for me. And that picture was when I opened it on Christmas morning, and it's just one of the most beautiful gifts I've ever gotten, and it made me cry. And it's so real. It looks so incredibly real, and I love it.
He is a talented carver, and your husband is a wonderful man.
He really is. Yeah, he really is. And he does most of his carving with chainsaws. Yeah, he's incredible.
We've got somebody down here that does it, but basically it's those bears with the welcome sign. So
yes, yeah. Oh yes, yeah.
Now I've got a nosy question for you. The back, right behind you, you have two pieces that almost look like hookings. They almost look like
Yes, I do. Fiber arts are really big where I live. And we actually have a world famous rug hooker who lives in the small town where I live. And she has a studio, and people come from all around the world. Really, her work is incredible. And I've taken some workshops with her, and I do old-fashioned rug hooking, and where you cut the strips, you cut old scarves and old coats and old things up into strips, and then you hook it into burlap. And so those two pieces I hooked, and one of them is of my husband's mother, and one of them is of my mother when they were younger, when they were like in their 20s.
They're amazing because they look like goddess pictures to me because of the distance. They're gorgeous. You're very talented. Wow.
Thank you. I love rug cooking, and I love needle felting. I really enjoy fiber arts. Yeah.
A friend of mine, her name is Aileen, and she does needle felting. I can't get her. I'll have to do a video on her someday, but she made me this sea goddess. She's a mermaid. She put her on a piece of driftwood from it's called Useless Bay in Whidbey Island. It's near Seattle, and we go on retreat there. And so it's very meaningful to me. She's got little shells that Aileen picked up while there. And I keep telling her she needs to do this as an Etsy shop, but she's her job is very demanding. So, but
now, I think you put a video. I think you put a video up about Useless Bay, didn't you, a while ago? And you were there, and I was fascinated with it. I wrote back in the comments, and I was like, "Oh my God, this place is unbelievable." It's
freaking amazing. The last time I was there was last September. I'm going again this September. Yeah, I can finally announce it. We were having. She was keeping it secret because only 18 people go, and her list has gotten so large that she had
Okay.
to do a lot of intuitive asking
Yes.
rather than just send out. Um,
Right.
but it is I tell people if you can go, she's going to add. Her name is Joanna Colbert. She actually is the person who did this deck, the guy in tarot.
Okay.
But
Oh, beautiful.
and
Wow.
she's going to add a foundational retreat for next year. So if people get on her mailing list, go to
Oh,
GaianTarot.com, get on her mailing list. It it's worth it. She has a payment plan. It's pricey, right? You're going for Wednesday to Sunday. You have a place to stay.
wow.
You have food the entire time. You don't need to pay for anything once you're there.
Oh, wow. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
It's and that was my when I went there the first time, it was in March, and they said, we're going to go on a beach walk. And I thought, okay. And everybody says, take coats and all this. Well, I'm very warm blooded. So it has to be super cold. And I go out there and I have a sweatshirt on. I've got my great big parka thing on. My husband bought me this all weather monster coat. And I get there and I'm like, oh, good God. And I'm stripping down to my t-shirt and they're like, are you going to be okay? I said, please, I'll be fine.
Those hot flashes do come in handy, Arwen.
Whew, personal power surges. But I saw an eagle getting its breakfast, which was just,
Oh,
and then the last day of the last one, the September one, we heard this really high, I mean, like really high pitched noise. And I thought, what the heck is that? And I look up, and coming in at the treetop level is this incredibly huge osprey.
oh,
And it zips past us and we follow it. And there are five of them. There's like I don't know if it's a family or what, but there's five osprey, and they were calling to one another and circling over the area where we circled and
oh.
did retreat. It was such a neat thing.
Yes, yes, yes. Osprey. Oh, we have tons of osprey. Well, the blue heron, the cranes, it's osprey. They're gorgeous, aren't they? Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah. And I love,
Yeah.
man, blue heron is one of my totem birds. They are one of my guardians because
Oh, wow.
growing up in
Oh,
Louisiana, and my mother lived on the bayou. She remarried when I was just started college, but I would go home to her new home, and they had also we called them the great white heron. I don't know if that's the right name, but they're we have cattle egrets, snow egrets, and then the great white ones. And they would
yes.
come in huge flocks, like 30, 50 of them at a
Oh,
time. And every
oh,
now and then you'd see a blue heron in with them, like, I'm different, I'm a snowflake.
oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Well, let me get to the actual questions. I'm now. Everybody's like, Arwen, are you just going to visit with her? Yes, yes, I am.
yes, please.
What's the first thing you remember about witches in general? Just like any childhood memory? Was it a book? Was it a person?
Well, you know what? It was actually my first memory would be from The Sword and the Stone. I didn't see the movie when I was a child because in the little town that we lived in, we didn't get Disney movies. We went with our quarter and we saw, I think when I was 5 years old, the first movie I ever saw was Beach Blanket Bingo with Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello.
I love that movie.
Me too. I wanted to marry Frankie Avalon. Anyway, but I didn't. We didn't get to see Disney movies, so I didn't get to see that. But I had the book, and I loved Madame Mim. Do you
Yes.
remember Madame Mim from The Sword and the Stone?
Yes, she was a little bit
And
cray cray.
I loved about that book, and I know I kind of cheated because I thought about that question beforehand, and I have my old book. I found it. I don't have much from my childhood, but I still have this book. And there's Madame Mim.
Oh, how amazing.
So I loved her. I just thought she was the coolest. Her, and I don't remember much about the story. Well, I mean, of course, everybody knows the story, but I wasn't really too drawn to the other characters. I only really cared about Madame Mim and, of course, Merlin. And there was a little owl on the last page, and they were like my favorite things in the book. So, yeah.
That's awesome that you refound it. I had a similar experience. I don't see it 'cause I've got my short glasses on. I tell people I've got computer glasses, and I can literally see this far. But it's a fairy tale book, and I love fairy tales. Y'all know I did the fairy tale Lenormand, and I love fairy
Yes.
tales. But it's called The Tall Book of Fairy Tales, and it's skinny
Oh,
and tall.
okay.
And my grandmother really indulged me in my fairy tales because she was an English teacher, so she loved reading and education. I mean, even when she was, I think in her 70s, she was trying to learn Esperanto, which it didn't work out, but it was supposed to be an international language. It was English, Spanish, Portuguese, Esperanto. I don't remember what the last one was, but it was like a polyglot language. I may have
Okay.
just, and it was really interesting. But she also did this Tweezledorf. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it was a accounting thing. She was always learning. But she indulged me and would get me the
Awesome.
Andrew somebody, but the the blue fairy book, the red fairy book, and
Yes.
so I love that you found your sword in the stone. That's
Yes.
just
And
wow.
I had a notebook of fairy tales too, and I don't have it anymore, but I too was fascinated with fairy tales. And of course, I remember the witches in the fairy tales, and I loved them. I loved, loved, loved my fairy tales. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite one is a really obscure one, and I actually created a tarot spread around it. It's called The Princess on the Glass Hill. I think
Oh,
it's Scandinavian, if I remember correctly.
okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's so, and I love them. I actually have an ebook of tarot spreads that are all based on different fairy tales.
Yes. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'll drop a link down there for y'all in the bottom if you want to take a look at it. It is for
Oh, that's
sale,
cool.
okay? I just want to be really upfront. Now, what brought you to paganism? Were you already there as a kid, or
Um,
did you?
quite honestly, I really feel like I was born on the path. I have to say. Um, I had my Christian years, of course, and I didn't really come into my own in terms of setting up my kind of witchy pagan spiritual practice till I was in my 40s. But I really was, it was always a part of who I am. It was just always there. My grandmother, who was born in Scotland and came over to Nova Scotia as a child, she went to church and would have called herself a Christian, but she very much followed the old Celtic path. And she was a witch, say what you will. And sometimes she would call herself that. Not out in public, but, but she was definitely a witch. And I adored her. We used to visit her practically every weekend when I was a child. And she lived with us when after my grandfather passed away, she came to live with us. So she lived with us when I was growing up. And she was awesome. She was really into the paranormal. She was very gifted in terms of, she was always having premonitions and visions, and she was always, up for using the Ouija board, and she told fortunes with playing cards. And she did charms, as she called them, but they were spells. And I adored her, and I soaked everything up like a sponge.
My grand
Yeah.
my grandmother and I had I tell Kelby it was a prickly relationship because we were super similar. So, when she would come, she drove 10 hours to come see us. And when she would drive in, once I was old enough to realize what was happening, I would wait till she got home, say, "Welcome home, Granny, I love you." And then I would leave and not come back till the next morning. And I have learned about myself that when I've had a really long drive, it is best to hand me food and leave me be for an hour or two because I'm just, and I'm actually just realizing it right now that that's probably what was going on with Granny. And, and my sister and I, we were pretty exuberant kids. the last thing you want after a grueling drive is exuberance.
Yes.
You want your scotch and
Yep.
your meal, and that's it. She was a scotch drinker, so. But yeah, and she taught me. She was Scott on one side and German on the other side, and pretty much almost dead even. But her German side was her influence. So if we moved to a new home, or if we were going to see somebody, she always told me, she would say, given name is Stephanie. She'd say, Stephanie, if you go in somebody's house for the first time and it's their new home, you must take a basket and you must have a potato so they'll never go hungry, bread so they'll always have sustenance, salt, and water. Those 4 items had to go into a home with me. I've never been able to track down the background. I've never really looked. I've never been able to see,
Yes.
what is that? Who does that come from? I mean, it makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes. I don't know, Arwen, but I have heard of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard of it.
So,
Yep.
what's your favorite form of divination? I think I know, but
Oh, most definitely tarot. Yeah, most definitely. Like I say, my grandmother, she told fortunes with tea leaves and regular playing cards. And it fascinated me. And the first time I ever saw tarot cards, which was a long time ago now, it was, it was love at first sight. And the first time I ever knew of their existence, that was it. It was like a marriage made in heaven, and it was like a reunion.
yeah.
Yeah, love tarot.
Now, what's your
Yeah.
favorite deck? I mean, like, are you still a Rider-Waite girl? I'm assuming your first deck was a Rider-Waite.
Well, I do my readings when I'm reading for other people. I definitely do them with my universal weight, like my Rider-Waite. I always go back to that. It's kind of my tried and true. It's just my comfort zone. I do read with other decks for people, but rarely. My favorite deck of all time is the Victorian Romantic by Bubba Studios. And I love that. And of course, the Bohemian Gothic tarot, which is also a Bubba deck. And I love those decks. I really do. But I have quite a few favorites. I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people, yeah, I'm kind of a serial monogamist when it comes to tarot. I love this deck for a while, then I love this deck for a while.
Yeah. Well,
But
no matter how much I love other decks, I always go back to the Victorian Romantic. For some reason, the minute I saw that deck, there was just something about it. It's magic. For me, it's magic. Yeah.
I have a real connection with the Victorian age and the Elizabethan age.
Oh, I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually did a past life regression. I should do a longer video about this. And I, you have got to know that
Do you
I
know?
knew in my
Oh,
heart that I was one of the Queen's ladies. And we do this past life regression. And in it, it's a Dick Sutphin hypnosis style is the one I did. And you're told,
yes.
open your eyes and look at your feet. I opened my eyes. I couldn't see my feet. Was it because I had voluminous skirts on and beautiful? No, I was up to my ankles and higher in mud and pig shit. I was not a Queen's lady. I was a woman who lived in a village and had that, just the way we do now, that royal craze.
Yes. 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 Well, I have the royal craze. I love the royals. I know it's really I know it's kind of a little bit archaic in today's society, but I am a royal lover, I have to admit. But it's funny that you said that about the Elizabethan, because I always kind of associated you with that for some reason. There's a feeling there. I don't know. My best friend who passed away a couple of years ago, she had been my best friend since we were 17. And she had a heart transplant, and she lived 20 years with her new heart.
Awesome.
But of course, eventually, she died of heart failure. But she was really she was just my spiritual, soulmate friend, and she was really into the Elizabethan era. And she just had that, there was something about her that just, it felt Elizabethan. And I feel that from you too. There's something you can't put your finger on it.
Now, your best
Yeah.
friend
But
wasn't
I love the Victorian era. And she was obsessed with the Victorian era too.
yeah.
And I'm obsessed with the Victorian era. Yeah.
I think that Emily Blunt's Young Victoria movie, it's one I can watch over and over
Yes.
and over again.
Yes. Yes. And PBS is doing a series now. I think it's still on.
I haven't
And
seen it yet. I've got it
yeah,
saved. Yeah.
yeah.
The young
It's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
is it? Okay.
Yeah. It
Now, your
is.
best friend wasn't a curly redhead with kind of short, like a cap of curly redhead, was she?
She wasn't, she didn't have red hair. No, no. She had actually kind of like long chestnut colored hair. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's somebody that I keep seeing when I'm talking to you who's kind
Okay.
of not not round, but not real thin either. But she's got this like cap of curly, and it's red, and she's just this laughing woman. She's like laughing and very happy. So
Okay. Well, that, that could very well be. I mean, it sounds like her personality was. You never know.
right, but
Maybe she's revealing herself as she was in a past life.
well, she has porcelain skin, and she's very pretty in that very classic, like what you think of a Scottish Highlander milkmaid kind of pretty.
Okay. Oh,
So
that's cool.
yeah, I don't know who it is. She hasn't said anything. So this is the first time, y'all, that when I've been doing an interview, that I've actually had this experience. So it's like, okay, who are you?
Oh, that's
But
very cool. That's very cool.
yeah, she says her name is Annie.
Okay. Oh,
So
that's
I don't
very
know.
interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Now, we're gonna ignore the ghost in the room.
Okay.
Have you ever done a working that backfired on you or didn't go the way you planned, had
Okay, now
unintended
Arwen, I
results?
have to tell you, I have to interrupt because all of a sudden where I'm sitting here is ice cold. Ice cold. Yeah. Just wanted to tell you that. This is like really cold. Like it's just freezing cold where I am. Anyway,
But
sorry, what were you going to ask me?
I would say, okay, could you move just a little bit away because you're interfering with my warmth? And
Yes.
what have you ever had
Just a little.
a working or a spell that just kind of didn't work out as you planned?
Well, I really don't do a whole lot of spell work. I do ritual. I do have rituals that I do, and I do some spell work, but not a whole lot. So I have to say no. I really, I'm very, very careful when I do any kind of spell work, and I'm really super careful with my wording, like really careful with my wording.
Yeah.
And I usually end that with whatever goddess and god's will for me, may that be done kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of turn it over. I always, spirit knows best. So, yeah, I have to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that caveat that you put on the end about, okay, this is what I've been doing. This is the ritual, but
Yeah.
whatever y'all think best.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, my next question is a Southwest food question, but I'm changing it for you.
Red
And
sauce.
well, I'm going to ask lobster or bluefish?
Oh my gosh, lobster. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we are lobster territory here. Yeah. Lobster season. We're all about lobsters. I grew up playing on my best friend when I was growing up. Her father was a lobster fisherman. And so we grew up playing on the lobster traps. And would pretend it was a covered wagon. But and I mean, I grew up in Port Towns, so yeah, we're all about lobsters. Yeah.
Yum.
Yeah.
For me, if you tell me it's seafood, there is very little eel. I don't like river eel, and I like freshwater eel, and I don't like saltwater eel. I've tried both. Well, in
Yes.
sushi, but they're not my faves. But if you put any other kind of seafood in front of me, please remove your hands quickly.
Oh, me too. I love, love, love fish, love seafood.
Yeah.
Love, love, love it.
I have an aunt. My father's sister lives in Rhode Island, and when I was 14, 16, some pretty young, I went to visit her. And she had that crazy, I call her my crazy Yankee aunt still. She's still alive and she's just an amazing woman. But we went across Rhode Island, which, as you know, takes about 25, 30 minutes. It's a very, very tiny piece of land. But we went down to the wharf, to the fish, where the boats were coming in. My aunt went up and had some conversation with the guy that went, hey, what you got? Yeah. I couldn't really understand her. But he hands her this, I mean, a ginormous fish. And she gives him money, and we get back in the car. She puts it in the cooler, and we head back to the house. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not eating that. I don't even know what that thing is. She bakes it with lemon and butter and salt and pepper. I'm pretty sure that's all she put on it, and it was bluefish.
Okay, yes, yeah, yeah.
And to this day, I've never had fish that I liked better. And catfish places don't like to see me come in on all you can eat night.
They lose
So,
money that night.
right, they're like, oh, there comes that. But we used to have a place that did a all you can eat shrimp night. You could get boiled or fried. And
Yes.
uh, I boiled shrimp and I are besties.
Oh, yum. Yum,
Yeah.
yum, yum. Yeah.
Now, is there an afterlife in your belief system?
Absolutely. Absolutely there is. I believe in a multi-dimensional universe. I believe in ETs. I believe that that's how we came to be on Earth. I believe that we were brought here by ETs. Actually, I should say I believe in multi-dimensional universes because I think there's many universes. Um, I believe that we create the scene that we transition into at the time of our death. So, I think that we create that. We have the ability to create that. I'm not sure if it's before we incarnate into this life or if it's during, but we create how that transition is going to play out. So I think that if we think we're going to meet our loved ones on a beach, then we're going to meet our loved ones on a beach. If you're a Christian and you believe you're going to meet Jesus, then that's what's going to happen. If you believe, your goddess, your deity is going to welcome you, then that's what will happen. That's what I believe. I think after that, that's to help us kind of make the transition. And I think first we go to the light, and then, we enter this kind of transition scene that we've created. And then I think after that, we kind of we go through a life review, not a judgment, but a review, an assessment and a review. And then I believe that with our guides, we decide how we're going to go from there, whether we're going to continue to grow our soul in the spirit realm or if we're going to reincarnate.
I like that. It has a lot of resonance with what I believe also. Now, I'm going to ask, this is another question that I'm kind of throwing in. Is there a purgatory or a hell in your belief system?
No. I believe that we sow what we reap, in a sense, or we reap what we sow, sorry. And I think that there are consequences. I do believe in karma. And I think what we do or what we don't learn here, we take that with us. So I think that there are consequences for that. I'm not exactly sure. I believe in the Akashic records, and I certainly believe that there are consequences, not in terms of going to hell, but I do believe that we definitely have consequences for the choices that we make here on earth.
Sorry.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yeah, and that again falls into what I think. Now,
Yeah.
who's the first YouTuber you remember watching?
The first YouTuber I remember watching was, she was a gal she was from Newfoundland, I believe. I think she was from St. John's, Newfoundland. And I don't think she's on YouTube anymore. And I don't know why, but I noticed her channel has been taken down. And she changed her name over the course of time. So I can't even remember what her last name, I think it was Midnight Mist or something, but I loved her, and she was so inspirational to me. And she was the first YouTuber I ever started watching. And after that, it probably would be the phenomenal, unbelievably wonderful Sunshine Morning Ray.
I've had the pleasure of meeting her in person at a witch meetup in Texas.
Yes.
And she's stinking funny. She could actually be a member of my own family, because most of my family are Texas based on my mom's side. And she is, she's right there. She will tell you like it is. And
yes, I loved her channel. You know, it was so inspirational, and she was such a pioneer, you know, and just, you know, I learned so much from her, so much inspiration.
You know,
positive
she was on
inspiration. She was so positive. I love positive.
She was on the
I don't do the negative.
She was on the witch, the 24-hour YouTube witch thing that Ravenflower,
Yes.
and it was
that was phenomenal.
It was her birthday, so I went on and sang her happy birthday.
Oh, that 24-hour chat was phenomenal. And you know, I mean, big applause to Ravenflower and Noah.
Yeah,
Bravo to them for thinking of doing that. I mean, that's groundbreaking.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they'll do it again. You know, I had a lot of fun having Ember and her Joy Love on there. Were so much fun for me. We just had a grand time. So hopefully we'll get Ember back on YouTube soon. Now it's Deserted Island time, which may sound like heaven to you. Yeah. But
yes.
Deserted Island time. You can get 5 magical items, not survival items necessarily, but 5 magical items. What are you going to pick?
You know, it's funny because the practical Virgo in me has a hard time getting past, well, let me see, the mosquito net, a bag of food, you know, has a hard time getting past that. But to be perfectly honest with you, and I know this is going to sound corny, but I really wouldn't take anything with me. And I say that because I really would have everything that I could possibly need. I would have the ocean with the salt for cleansing, you know, my body and my spirit. I would have the moon. I believe in the triple moon goddess, and I would have the sun, you know, the sun god, the horn god. I could get driftwood and make a wand, which is what I did to make my wand. I could draw sigils and do magic on the sand. If I had fire, which I assume I would have, then I would have everything. I could find herbs and seashells for vessels. I would have everything. And most of all, I would have my connection to spirit would already be there. It's inside of me.
That's beautiful, Rosy. That is beautiful.
Well, I really truly feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I really, because, and when I stop and think about it, I'm like, yeah, you can get everything you need other than maybe fire. Maybe that would be unless you're a really good stick. And
yes,
because even a stick and some soft wood, y'all, that old Girl Scout in me is like, you can do that.
If you wanted it bad enough, you'd have lots of time to work on it.
Right? Skill time. So what herbs, we're going to limit it to 3, what herbs or seasonings do double duty in your kitchen and in your ritual work?
Double duty? I would say cinnamon, I would say sage, and I would say sea salt. Yeah, yeah, for
Nice,
sure.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually have almost eliminated iodized salt and gone straight to sea salt and Himalayan salt. So,
Yes, me too. Yeah.
well, and I'm from Louisiana, so that's kind of a bad thing because we're known for our salt dome. You know, when they say I'm going to send you down to the salt mines, hello.
Yes. 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 Well, I live fairly close to a salt mine, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you intentionally honor or care for deity as you know it? And some people can't talk about this, so if you can't, just say pass. That's cool.
Okay. Well, how I think I really honor my deities would be through honoring myself, by showing self-love and by showing myself respect. um, I think that would be number one, by honoring myself and by giving love and receiving love and by being true to myself and working on myself. I think that's honoring deity,
I
number
like
one for
that.
me. And of course, also through the rituals that I do. I like to just go out and stand under the moon and have a moon bath, and do a little bit of chanting. I love that. And by going to the ocean, of course, always, that always connects me with my deities, always, always. And I have a goddess and a god candle on my altar. So when I do any kind of meditation or prayer or ritual at my altar, and god candle, that's definitely a way that I honor and acknowledge. And also, I love to walk in nature. I love to walk. And I used to be an avid runner, but I can't really do that anymore. So I walk and I always come home with full pockets. And so I'm always leaving my offerings, like, to my goddess and God. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And the next question is about self care for you, but it kind of sounds like that's all in one, which I really love. So, and I know you're a tea drinker because one of my favorite videos is where you were making salted caramel tea, I think it was.
Yes. That tea is so good and I'm addicted to it.
I'm
Yeah.
going to have to try it. My husband, that's his favorite flavor. I mean, you say salted caramel potato chips, and
Yes.
he'll want to try them out. He loves that flavoring. Um, Name something that always brings you joy.
Something that always brings me joy. You know, I would have to say honoring my inner child. Um, I think we don't acknowledge our inner child as much as we really need to. So I think by honoring my inner child, that brings me a great deal of joy. And what that means for me is, and I really do this. Ask my husband. But if we're out for a walk and I feel like skipping, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I skip. If I want to skip, I skip. I have a bicycle that I ride, and it's a 3-speed, and it's a European bike. It looks kind of like an old-fashioned bike, and it has a basket. And my favorite thing to do when I ride my bike is to ring the bell. It really is. When my nieces come, I like to color in their coloring books with them, and I like to make fairy houses with them, and I just, if I see a swing and I want to go over and swing on that swing, I do. I go polar bear dipping in the wintertime, and we do some adventurous things. That's me honoring my inner child, and that brings me so much joy.
That's
Doing things
wonderful.
with kind of reckless abandon. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mad puddle jumper. I'm a Pisces. I'm your
Yeah.
astrological polar opposite. Virgo and Pisces are and I love my Virgos. Ember's a Virgo.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Yes. Love her.
but we had and when I lived in Austin, Texas, we often had just thunder boomers. I mean, the skies would turn black. It was like downpour. Here's your rain. And we had one, and where I lived was a little bit on a slope, and so I would go out of my condo, and there would be like a rushing stream, easy 6 inches wide. Not, you could step over it. Never stepped over it. Stepped into it every time. I'd pull my shoes off, and boom, in the water. And my stepson lived with me, and he was like, "You are so weird." I said, "I know." But if you're walking with me, and my fire sign friend knows that, she's my retreat friend also, that if you're walking with me, you see a puddle, hang back, otherwise you're going to get wet. And she will spit like a cat when she gets wet.
Did
Hates
you
it.
ever watch? Did you ever watch that? It reminds me of that British sitcom that used to be on the air. I think it was called The Vicar of Dibley. Dibley, I think
No.
it was called. Oh my gosh! And there's a scene where she's trying to impress this guy that she's dating, and she tries to jump in a puddle, and she jumps over her head. Oh, you have to look for it. It reminds me, just what you said reminds me of that. You have to look for that scene. It's hilarious.
I, because that's something that I would actually love. I was watching a movie. I think it was a movie but anyway, it was people watching people walk down the sidewalk after a rain, and there was a puddle. And if you thought it was a little puddle, if you walked, it was like this deep. And they were yelling at people. If they liked them, they were being very judgy. If they didn't like them, they would let them walk in the water. And my
That's
inner
hilarious.
my inner snot child said, "Ha." Now, well, we've talked about food, and so what's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal is spaghetti meatballs. Yeah, hands down. But I'm a little bit, it's going to sound a little narcissistic, but my favorite is the way I make it. It is, yeah. I make it with, like, I use ground turkey, a combination of ground turkey and chicken. Oh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. And I put it in my slow cooker, and I use a lot of fresh veg. And oh my God, with freshly grated Parmesan. Oh, love. Yeah.
Dear Mr. Rosie Moon May, I am very sorry, but you're getting spaghetti from tonight. And I will always switch your name around. I will make you Moon May, May Moon. It's just going to be
That's
all over the place.
okay. It doesn't matter. A rose by
It's
any
the
other name
Pisces.
is still a rose.
That's right. Do you have a ghost story you can share with us?
I have so many. I have a lot of ghost stories. It's interesting though, because I put it out there a long time ago that, I would have a lot of strange dreams as a child, and some things that happened, I'm not sure that they were a dream. They probably weren't, but some of it was a little scary. And I think I kind of put it out into the universe a long time ago that no, thank you. I don't want to see scary ghosts. I don't want to see that. But I have had a lot of, spirit activity and unusual things happen. But I do think I have seen ghosts, but because of my fear of seeing them in kind of the cliche way, I really believe I've seen them as real people. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. Like I mentioned before, I can't remember if I mentioned it on here or if it was in the little chat we had before, but my best friend passed away a couple of years ago, and probably maybe 4 years ago now. And she had been my best friend since she was 17. And
Wow.
she was very, she was very witchy, and she was very spiritual, and she had had a heart transplant. So she had had her new heart for 20 years, and she was She was just an amazing, amazing human being, and spunky. And you remind me a little bit of her, actually. But she was incredible. She truly, truly was. And she had passed away, and I guess she passed away in September, like the day before my birthday.
Oh,
And
ouch.
it probably was the following spring. I had a couple of kind of visitations from her through things that happened that I
Yeah.
knew were her. But it was like the following spring, and I was out running. And I used to be an avid runner. I used to be a half marathon runner up until 2 years ago, when I sustained an injury and my osteoarthritis made it so that I couldn't run anymore. But I was running one morning like I always did. I ran several times a week, and I always ran the same route. And it was a secondary highway, so there was a lot of car traffic, but
Right.
not a lot of walking traffic. You know, there were businesses, and I seldom ever saw anybody on that route. Maybe the odd time I would see a man who lived in the area walking his dog. But usually it was just me and cars. So one day, one morning, I was out for my usual run, and I saw this woman on the other side of the street walking toward me. And my first thought was, okay, that's weird. Wow, there's somebody out here, and it's not that man walking his dog. And then my second thought, as I got closer, was, oh, there's something not right. There's something not right about this. And I noticed she was dressed completely in black. And not only that, but when I got closer, it was like she looked completely like a real person. But and it was interesting because she was across the street. So it was almost symbolic of, like that, like she was in another world.
Yeah.
And she was very ethereal in the way she was dressed. And I looked at her face, and I couldn't see it very clearly, but it didn't look like the face of my friend. But she spoke to me, and she said, hello. I said hello to her, and she said hello back. And then I noticed she's walking exactly like my friend used to walk. My friend had been in a car accident, and when she was young, and she had a little bit of a limp and a very unique gait when she walked. And this woman walked the exact same way. And I thought, oh my God, that's so weird. Am I really seeing this?
Yeah.
And then of course you have the tingle and the feeling. So I never stopped when I was running, unless it was an emergency, because I was very much Virgo, get it done, And I stopped, and I watched her, and I thought, did I really see this? And I watched her, and she continued to walk, and there was like a highway overpass, and she walked under the overpass, which again, I think was, symbolic spiritually. And she continued, to kind of fade off. I could still see her. And then I just turned around and I kept running. But I know it was her. I know I saw a ghost. I know it was her.
Yeah, that's cool. I like to think that when we pass, our spirit has the opportunity, you get like 5 tickets, and you can go see 5 people and just, check in on them before you really take your vacation. So
yes, yeah. Yeah. Well, just the fact that scene played out in this place. I mean, come on,
yeah. I do think that she came back. I absolutely agree with you, because you get those tingles like, okay, something's happening.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
Sadly, darn it, we're at the very last question, but I'm going to make more questions and get you back on here. What is your best advice to someone who is just starting out on their own path?
My best advice would be to definitely, to study and learn, and watch. If you're a YouTube watcher, really discern, try to discern what you watch. Try to keep it positive, try to keep it real, try to choose channels to watch or books to read with subjects that really resonate with you, and take what resonates with you, take what you need or you feel what will work for you, and leave the rest. My mantra for myself now is, my practice, my way, guided by spirit through intuition. And so my advice would be just to a new, which starting out on the path would be your practice, your way, guided by spirit through intuition.
I like that. I like that. And I like that you give us a phrasing that we can take and use. I sometimes look at things and I give them food analogies. And the internet and YouTube and all the internet, all the webs are like a smorgasbord, right? And when you go to a smorgasbord, or for people that don't know what a smorgasbord, but big buffet, you don't eat everything because you don't like everything, right? I'm skipping anything that's
Yes.
got lima beans or raspberries. They're on
Yes.
my do not eat list. So from YouTube, take what resonates,
Yeah.
just what she said, take what works and leave the rest. Don't waste.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy because that hits the nail right on the head. It's true, you know. And for me, I try to keep it positive, you know. If it's something, you know, it has to be for me when I watch YouTube, it has to be a channel where, you know, I'm learning something or, you know, it's uplifting me in some way or it's
Yeah,
entertaining me in a positive way. I like to keep it positive. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Rosie, when I say goodbye, I say seek joy, y'all. What's your sign off with your videos?
My sign off is always, gosh, what do I usually say? I usually say, I hope you all have a great day and blessings to you all.
Beautiful. And seek joy, y'all. Stick around. Well, not today. I don't think I have another chat today, maybe tonight, but seek joy and pass it on, y'all. Bye bye.
Thank you, Arwen.